I'm back. It's been one more day than I originally planned for it to be. But that's okay, I think. And my mic is a little bit too far. There we go. Okay, yeah. I was so tired yesterday, I'll be real. Um you know, I'm only at work part-time, but I have to bike to and fro. And when it's cold outside, it takes a lot out of you, especially when well, there's another detail that might make this stream even more difficult that occurred yesterday. Uh, but that's why I didn't stream yesterday. Finals week, let's fucking go. Let's go. Good luck on finals. The reason I didn't stream yesterday is because the bike ride to and from work took a lot out of me. It was super cold that morning, and the air was thin for the whole day, so I was really, really out of breath when I got back. And not to mention, I took had a fall off of my bicycle. I fell off my bike. I was at an intersection and I didn't see one of the cars that was there, and I had to make a right turn. It was a four-way intersection in a residential area. I tried to make the right turn, saw that the car was there, and I was like, okay, I'll bank the turn really tight. And then I leaned too far and just fell off my bike and scraped up my hand and my knee pretty good. There was a nice old lady in a house nearby that offered to patch me up, and so she was super nice for that. And then I got home and had to wash my hands, put some new bandages on, and I realized very quickly when I tried to wash the dishes, oh shit, it hurts to wash the dishes. So I was like, okay, let me just take it easy for the rest of the day, and then maybe I'll try to come back to streaming like tomorrow or something. And luckily, like if I still try to do stuff with this part of my hand, like the lower palm, it still kind of hurts, but it feels all right to such an extent that if I'm careful, I think I can make it work. And I wanted to stream, so because this do be one of those fucking. Lennon was right. There are weeks where decades happen. This is one of those weeks. Fucking the coup in South Korea happened. That fucked up. A guy assassinated a CEO, and then like the rebels won in Syria. That happened. And I gotta figure out my niche and all that. All right, we're back on the jet setter. This might suck. I'll be perfectly honest. But I also wanted to diversify a little bit out of just the news cycle, because I'm interested in politics. I'm interested in well, plenty of stuff. I find it's very fun when I do a little bit of politics and then also general interest stuff. Sometimes I'll get sucked into the rabbit hole of trying to cover the news all the time, and I can't do that. I'm just one person. I don't have editors. It's just me. And I'm definitely not I'm not a journalist that's part of a well-oiled news machine that is capable of, like, at an industrial pace, processing news stories and getting them out there. Not that news outlets do an especially good job of that. Unironically, I would put my own news coverage head and shoulders above something like the New York Times in terms of the quality, but newspapers are just able to do more than I have the capability to do. So I want to try to play to my niche a little bit more, being like a Twitch streamer and YouTube man guy, non-binary person. Yeah. Anyways, just spitballing some thoughts of mine there. And of course, it's also nice because I can sort of branch out my interest in politics as well. Not all politics is directly part of the news cycle. There are things that are very politically relevant that won't ever get picked up by a news outlet because of the it leads, whatever. And that just aren't directly, like, major events happening in you know, the halls of power and whatnot. You know? Like, there could be YouTube videos that have massive political implications insofar as, like, developing a lens of analysis. Like, that stuff is important. You know? In fact, beyond a certain point, I think engaging with the news can kind of get in the way of developing a very robust framework. Anyways, let me just make sure I have this all up and good, ready to go. Ah, okay. This track might be okay for the Jet Setter. We'll see. No, I didn't get an item. That's unfortunate. Okay. So far, so good. Oh, dude, somebody's on the Sprinter? Nice. Batman! Oh, dude, it's like the, fucking Batmobile. I'm driving pretty well so far. I know there are cart mains that are probably like... okay. Maybe not driving that great. I got the item that time, that's good. If that got you, Peach, I'm actually really sorry. Didn't look like it did though, so that's good. Oh no, it did. Okay, I'm sorry, Peach. I didn't mean to. Carts are just huge in this game. I can't help it. Okay. One mushroom. Okay. I can make this work, I think. Ow! Damn it. Ow! Mario Kart strikes again. Okay. Alright. I really need a box. Dang. No! Ah! This sucks. Rip. Okay. You know, I can talk about the thing that I posted in the Discord to notify about the stream. I said previously on the other stream that like the shooter that killed the CEO wouldn't be caught by the NYPD. And you know what? At the time, like, I will stand by the logic that I used to make that statement. I'll stand by that. Because the police are fucking incompetent. And all of the evidence that you could point to police not being incompetent literally only exists in the form of, like, police procedural dramas that air on TV, right? Like, the police have always been incompetent for as long as they've existed. Hello, Globalize My Agenda. Welcome back. But it seems like the police have a suspect. They found somebody who's, like, had a manifesto and, like, had a weapon on them and also had like 4 fake IDs. And I don't want to get like conspiratorial about it. There are people saying like, oh, you know, how likely is it that this is really the guy? I think for me, it's like a 50-50 whether or not this is actually the guy that the police took into custody is actually the guy that did it. Number one, the police are fucking incompetent. That's for one. Number two, you know, it's entirely possible that the police just need something to like augment their PR. I mean, the police have been known to like just plant evidence on somebody and be like, all right, yep, we got him. This is definitely the guy, and just arrest some rando. You know, that wouldn't be out of character for the police, really. So I wouldn't doubt that they did that. And you know, so on that level, I'm tempted to think, okay, they probably just nabbed some random guy that was really fucking suspicious, and then like decided, yep, this will be the culprit or something like that, right? Especially because of the discrepancies. Was this arrest case about? It's the guy that allegedly it's the guy that killed the CEO just the other day. The police got somebody for it. I'm skeptical whether or not it's actually the person. Because the police are incompetent, and also they've been known to just like plant evidence for the sake of like having something to present to the news cameras and whatnot. You know, this is a very high profile, like public murder case. But it's also possible because people generally are incompetent. Police are just more incompetent than the average person. It's also possible that this is the guy and he's just a massive dumbass and had the gun and like a bunch of fake IDs on him, and they got him. With the amount of media coverage this got, I would doubt that they would fuck up intentionally. On the contrary, that actually presents a unique motive for them to fuck up intentionally. Because the media cameras are on the police, they have an incentive to deliver something, lest the news story fade away. You see, the sole role of the police is to justify and to defend the interests of capital. If the police fail to come up with a suspect in a given amount of time, that potentially sends the message that, oh, hey, if we engage in something similar, the police probably won't be able to catch us, right? Like they want to basically have some kind of show of force. They want a show of force to be like, hey, if you fucking assassinate a CEO, we're gonna, you know, there will be consequences and stuff like that. So it's presents a motive for them to, or a incentive for them to just be like, okay, we just need somebody. We just need somebody so we can basically be like, you know, here's the message, right? I'd say the dude is making a stupid mistake, and that's what makes it a 50-50 for me. You know, it's a question of either are the police really fucking stupid, or is the guy that killed the CEO really fucking stupid? And honestly, both of those could be the truth. But, you know, that's what prevents me from really saying, like, okay, this is for sure the guy, or this is for sure not the guy. We'll see. You know, it's not like police are known for telling the truth either. Finally, I get to move on from this. It's not like the dude is a professional assassin. He probably would make mistakes. That's true. It's very unlikely that this was a professional hit job. It's more likely that this was an extremely disgruntled individual. So, police are stupid. The guy that did it is stupid. The question is, who was stupid enough? Like, are the police even more stupid, in which case they would have to try to cover their ass? Or is this guy incapable of, like, surmounting the stupidity of the police, if that makes sense? But allegedly they do have somebody. Complete with the political manifesto and everything. In fact, the fact that they've got a manifesto from him, and that he's like a massive psycho, allegedly. The guy that they found like a social media profile and manifesto associated with him, and he's apparently like a conspiracy crank who just so happens to also really, really hate the pharmaceutical industry. that makes me think that it is possible that they've got the right guy, because, you know, kind of like other assassins, like we've seen that sometimes assassinations are the least politically motivated crimes, despite the fact that they are the most political crimes in their direct consequences. You know, like politically relevant figure dies. Like with the Trump assassins, both of them were fucking like schizo neocons, right? Like the two people, the only people that have tried to assassinate Trump are Republicans. You know, even right wing. Yeah, nobody likes pharmaceutical companies and the pharmaceutical industry. Nobody. It's universal, the hatred. Like, if you've seen a little bit of the right wing side of YouTube and the internet, you see somebody like Ben Shapiro and Matt Walsh. Even their audiences are like, nah, you guys are fucking full of it, right? Like, even the conservatives fucking hate the health insurance industry, and hated the healthcare CEO. It's like they're socially aware, but it's because of the Jews. It's not always because of the Jews. You know, I gotta make that part known. The some of them obviously would think that, because, you know, the far right is as the far right does. But a lot of the comments, a lot of the right-wing backlash is along much more rational lines. For example, rather than invoking this grand systemic conspiracy, which is what you typically get when people are blaming the Jews for stuff, it's just people citing their own personal and family horror stories with the healthcare system, right? Where it's like, oh, you know, yeah, my grandma had to get treatment for cancer and the insurance like denied her coverage. She would have lived if not for the insurance company and shit like that. You know, or like, you know, I've had arthritis for a little while and the insurance company makes it hell for me to get any treatments for it. Or something like that. There's a myriad of stories. This is not a unique experience to the left. And this is why the critiques from the mainstream sort of liberal audience against the insurance companies, and the critiques from the right-wing audience against these insurance companies sounds actually very similar, because they just suck that much. You know, it's like, for conservatives, right? A lot of conservatives are just liberals but worse, right? That's the ideology of fascism. It's just liberalism but worse, which means an adherence to the economic status quo, i.e. a lack of systemic critique of the economic status quo, but worse. You just blame the Jews for anything that's wrong. But in this instance, they don't even, like, you know, they don't even go to the conspiratorial lengths. They don't engage in any of the sort of systemic denial that is inherent to the right-wing conspiracy theories that involve the Jews, you know? Because underwriting every conspiracy theory about the Jews is that if it were only for the Jews not being there, no systems would need to change, right? Understand that. This is why a lot of people say fascism is just the, you know, another form of liberalism. Liberalism is the moderate wing of fascism. But because they are so readily saying, like, yeah, the insurance system sucks, and not even name dropping any group of people in particular as to why that might be the case, you know, I think this is a genuine reaction to that. This is a genuine, like, hatred of the health insurance system. Okay. No! Damn it. Come on. Normal people tend not to resort to killing people. Yeah, it tends to not be that. Although, you know, sometimes it can lean more one way or the other. You have to be really radicalized for that to happen. Normal people are radicals. I hope you do need to understand this, if nothing else. Normal people don't tend to be mentally ill enough to go and kill somebody. But that doesn't mean that normal people aren't very radicalized. Take a look at the reaction from normal people to the CEO being killed. Universally good. I'm glad that he's dead. That guy was a monster who's responsible for the deaths of tens of thousands of people, right? That's the normal person reaction to this. It takes somebody mentally ill to actually go out and do that. For example, Aaron Bushnell. If you remember the guy that was, I think he was a Marine. He went and self-immolated. He lit himself on fire in protest for Palestine. Many people, normal people, share the exact same sentiment as that guy. He was just unstable enough to go and kill himself over it. Am I making sense here? Ooh. This track is great. I wonder how this is gonna feel on the Honey Coop, because I really like this track. Yeah, okay, yeah. That's something to note, is that increasingly, like, you know, certain elements of the ideologies of people who go out and like do an assassination, the ideologies that they are adherents of are not that uncommon. In fact, the ideologies that they hold tend to be pretty normal and commonplace. The difference is just the mental illness, you know? One of the first starters for independence movements was a student burning himself alive. Well, there you have it. And I'm willing to bet there were plenty of Lithuanian nationalists back in the day and still are. You know, that doesn't mean everybody's burning themselves alive over it. Yeah, no, but well, he definitely wasn't in the right mind if he burned himself alive. But yes, it's like you know, there's a difference there. Is yeah. Well, no. Okay, I'm still not that attuned to carts. The Honey Coop might actually be my favorite heavyweight cart. I'm gonna use this here. I really need to catch up. Ooh. Will you talk about Syria? Yes, I can. I can talk about Syria. I was going to talk about that. The Syrian civil war is kind of done. The rebels won. You know, shout outs to them. And I'm getting second. Nice. It was really quick. Assad's regime collapsed in a matter of days. I saw some videos of Syrians partying and having a great time in the capital city, and stuff like that. Certainly, this represents an upgrade, even though like some of the rebel groups are still have underwriting very religious, conservative ideology. That's an upgrade from Assad, who basically just used Syria as a playground to torture and kill people. You know, saw they were kind of like fighting the Kurds now. Yeah, no, there's some fighting against the Kurds, unfortunately. But thankfully, one thing that we've seen is that this hasn't been mostly from the rebel groups, right? This has been from Turkish mercenaries. The rebel groups and the Kurds aren't fighting very much. The people that the Kurds are fighting with are Turkish paid mercenaries, because Turkey has a vested interest to, well, kill all the Kurds so that the Kurds in their own country don't, like, you know, revolt. Turkey fucking hates the Kurds. And here we go. You're seeing this inside drift mod that I have for these vehicles. Finally, I'm back to inside drifting bikes. What's your opinion on the Israeli invasion? I actually do think that, funnily enough, the Israeli invasion of Lebanon did contribute to the collapse of Assad's regime. It was just one. It was one element, but it did contribute to that because Hezbollah was actually supporting the Assad government. Of course, Israel took credit for it, and now they're invading Syria, which is fucking bad. You know, Syria has very expansionist aims, and that's really, really bad of Syria. It's bad and stupid and bad again, and, you know, typical of Israel. They want their Lebensraum and that sort of shit. So, you know, kind of like what you would expect from Israel there, right? Second place. All right, sick. They said they would give it back. Well, we'll see. Israel probably doesn't want to give it back because, you know, again, they're pursuing a project of fascist expansionism. We can only hope that they don't become worse. You know. Or continue, like, invading and shit like that. Let's see, what was I gonna say about Syria? Oh, yeah, okay. The rebels that have now taken control, they've even come up with a new flag, the Free Syrian flag, which I think looks pretty good. It has people celebrating. They will only be able to engage in the project of nation building that they want to engage in if Israel and the United States basically permit that to happen. You know, because the you know, Israel is the US's attack dog, and the US is mostly just in the business of letting Israel do whatever the fuck it wants. And that would include most likely invading Syria even harder. Thousands of people returning to Syria. Oh yeah, it's possible. Even if there's some instability, Syria is going to be way more stable than it was under Assad. So people are going to come back. There are a lot of people who fled Syria specifically because Assad was such a massive authoritarian bastard and you know, controlled the country with an iron fist and literally imprisoned people for decades. Seriously, there's videos of, like, people being freed from the prisons in the capital in Damascus that said, "Oh shit, it's Saddam Hussein's troops. They've come to save us." And it's like, "Oh my god, they've been down here for fucking forever, dude." You know, it's not great. You know, that's the bar, and obviously, even if the rebels are you know, I guess problematic as some liberals would love to fixate on, this is objectively an upgrade from whatever the fuck Assad was doing. With a more stable Syria, the European far right might start to chill out, maybe, but probably not. It's possible because the Syrian refugee crisis really gave a lot of fuel to the fire of the far right in Europe, but that's only because there were already a lot of very racist and anti-immigration tendencies, you know, in these countries. But either way, Syria being stable is good for basically everybody else as well. Saw a little kid coming out from one of the prisons. Yeah, it's pretty fucked up. Assad was just imprisoning, like, everybody down there. But again, Syria will only see stability if Turkey, Israel, and the United States decide that they can see stability. Because Turkey is attacking the Kurds in the north because they don't want an independent Kurdish state or even an autonomous Kurdish region, because that would embolden the Kurds in Turkey, and Turkey wants to suppress and or kill the Kurds. The US wants to support Israel at all costs because the US is fucking insane, and the military-industrial complex wants to keep having the money flow into their industry, so they need a conflict in order to fuel it. And Israel is a great source of that conflict. And Israel is a foaming at the mouth Zionist fascist state. that wants to invade a bunch of Arab countries that neighbor it and claim a bunch of territory to construct the project of Greater Israel. You know? Even now, things don't look amazing for Syria, but they're in a better spot now than they were under Assad. Because, if who is it? The leader of HTS, the guy who's done a couple of interviews and stuff, if he gets to start seeing through his agenda, whatever it might be, his agenda involves nation building. Whether he's a dictator or not, I think it's entirely possible that he just becomes a authoritarian leader, but he's an authoritarian leader that cares about nation building. And so if Syria gets a taste of that nation building, then it's possible that they regain some of the civil society that they maybe once had, and that can only have good consequences down the road. So that's what we want. We want diplomacy and cooler heads to prevail in this scenario, because diplomacy and cooler heads prevailing means less instability for Syria and more development of a stable nation with a stable civil society, relatively speaking. And that means a very decreased likelihood that Syria devolves back into a failed state like it was under Assad. And just know that if that does happen, if Syria becomes a failed state again, if it devolves into massive internecine domestic conflict, it will be the United States' fault, or Turkey or Israel. Like, it's either Turkey's fault or America and Israel's fault if things like get worse in Syria at this point. Does that make sense? Because Russia's basically a non-player anymore. A lot of people were, a lot of Americans were very hasty to attribute our own actions and not, the fucking, why not all three? Because it's possible one of them backs off. Like, in the scenario where Turkey kind of cools the jets on bombing the Kurds, but America, doesn't, doesn't cool the jets on supporting Israel and stuff, then it's possible it could be America and Israel's fault, but not Turkey, if Turkey, backs off a little bit. Or it's possible if America and Israel eventually back off, but Turkey doesn't, then it would be Turkey's fault, but not America and Israel. Does that make sense? There's a couple different outcomes there, but you are correct in pointing out that it's possible that neither Israel nor Turkey lets up, in which case it will be all three, Turkey, Israel, and the United States' fault for continuing to try to advance interests militarily in the region, and then plunging Syria into instability again. Iran might try something, but they probably don't have the capabilities. No, Iran's not going to try something. Iran is actually, they've put out a statement saying all right, we look forward to working with the new government of Syria. They've basically signaled okay, you guys are the new government, we're going to do diplomacy with you to try to advance our interests that way. Iran has more or less committed to not advancing the interest through military proxies. Does that make sense? Iran's interest is for Syria to be stable right now, and they've said as much. Obviously they want Syria to be more friendly to them, but they're not going to try to put troops on the ground in order to do that. I think that Iran has actually been more rational of a geopolitical actor as of late than the United States, and certainly than Israel. And I think they recognize that the appetite for war in the region is very, very low. And so, if anything, you could say they're seeking to capitalize on the low appetite for war. Anyway, that's what in Syria. I guess I want to be cautiously optimistic, but there's a lot of, there's kind of a feeding frenzy constantly in the Middle East as long as America and Israel are present. And so that doesn't, that kind of makes things not look great. And, as long as Turkey's there as well, that feeding frenzy continues. Mega Mushroom. Also, I think just to add another bit of that, Iran's kind of like tied up dealing with Israel and trying to support Hezbollah because Israel's been invading Lebanon and stuff. You know, like it seems to me that would be their primary concern right now. So they probably, and there's also probably like if you want to take the most uncharitable view possible of Iran, that they want to invade everybody all the time, which is, you know, I would say that's kind of projection of the American attitude. But it's entirely possible that even if they wanted to, I don't know if they would be able to because, you know, they're kind of strapped right now. Like they got bigger problems. Fourth place. Fifth? What? Yeah. It's probably laggy today. So yeah, that's hopefully Syria becomes not a failed state. You know, that would be nice. But it's also possible for Turkey and America and Israel to fuck everything up, which would not be good. Azure Castle 1. Oh. Oh, shit. Okay. I'm just gonna use this here. Oh, he's on the jet setter? Let's go. Okay. Let's go around this corner. Sorry, mate. I had to create a little bit of distance. I'm on the fucking what is it called? The bit bike. I almost got him with that. That would have been crazy. I mostly just did that for the content. Okay, star? They're in a star, which means nobody has the shock. I went for it. No! Damn it. Unfortunate. But this is the slowest bike in the game, so... I think that this will probably be the most difficult out of all the bikes, if I'm not mistaken. Oh, only 4 people? Damn, why is there nobody online right now? Well, it is a Monday, like, afternoon, so... Speaking of, like, general interest stuff, I wanted to talk about something that I had seen yesterday. This isn't going to be a segment because I've still got to work on the CEO assassination segment and how, like, that plays into systemic critiques and whatnot. I saw a video that pertained to a topic that I'd read a book about a little while ago. Yesterday, I saw a video, or actually a couple of videos that got recommended to me about this phenomenon of what's called bullshit jobs. And if you're not familiar, basically the concept of a bullshit job is a job that doesn't really do anything, right? It's, you know, contrary to a job where the value of said job is very evident. For example, you are a a media producer who makes YouTube videos or whatever, like you, that's entertaining to people, or you are a worker at a grocery store who packages or not packages, like stocks the shelves, or whether you work at a processing plant packaging the food and stuff like that, you know, that stuff is the opposite of a bullshit job, where the value of it is so evident that it could never be like, I know what bullshit jobs are. Regional politicians. Haha, I got them. There are some elements of bullshit to a politician's job, but you know, there are also a lot of elements to working in politics that are not a bullshit job. What I'm referring to is people who are even more useless than politicians, if you can imagine such a thing. Politicians at least have the ability to do things that are useful and have been known to, on occasion, engage in such behavior of doing useful things. No, I'm referring to people like lobbyists. You know, people who go and tell politicians, hey, you should do this, you should do this, you should do this. The ideas guys of the world. You know, the random, seemingly, like, pointless, partially because they are pointless, you know, middle managers whose job it is to oversee 3 people who do actual labor and then report back to the upper managers who report to the other upper managers who report to the CEOs, the ultimate bullshit job about how we need to be meeting such and such targets for such and such that may or may not be realistic or even feasible, etc., etc. There is a, you know, there is a very recognizable pattern to bullshit jobs. And I wanted to talk about this phenomenon because I'd read the book by the anthropologist David Graeber, rest in peace, about bullshit jobs. And I found it quite interesting. And I think at the time I didn't fully understand the implications of bullshit jobs existing. And not everybody does. In fact, it's one of the easier things to misconstrue insofar as why they exist, right? The video I saw talked about, like, bullshit jobs and compared it to jobs that existed in the Soviet Union. The example they used was that, you know, the Soviet Union wanted to make sure that everybody was employed, so they would give people jobs that, you know, were maybe meaningless or extremely redundant. For example, taking inventory, but doing so over and over in a very redundant fashion to where its usefulness started to diminish, or having, you know, twice as many factory workers as you needed just so everybody could have a job and nobody would be, you know, unemployed and stuff like that, you know. They cited that as sort of the origin of bullshit jobs. And I want to stress, and I saw that and I was like, now that's not really the case, right? The video, and a lot of people, like, learn about the phenomenon of bullshit jobs either by name or they see some jobs as pretty fucking useless and sort of draw a very baseline conclusion of, damn, we should just fire all these people and like not have these jobs anymore and stuff like that. Which, I mean, you shouldn't have those jobs anymore. That, you know, that would be something. But at the same time, I think that kind of saying, man, these people are useless and we should fire these people, I think misses the point of highlighting what is or isn't a bullshit job to begin with, right? A lot of, you know, this video kind of approached that with that libertarian brain assumption of, oh, if only I were the boss, I could do it so much better and whatnot. When in reality, this is a problem with capitalism. You know? The example with the Soviet Union that I mentioned, I don't think really applies fully to a bullshit job for 2 reasons. First, what I want to highlight is that those jobs that were created to be like really redundant and sometimes seemingly pointless were not pointless precisely because they were redundant. In an economy of scale, right? In an economy of scale like the United States, like Russia, like, you know, whatever, you have to have redundancy. Otherwise, you would be employing a tactic akin to trying to run out of fuel right as the plane touches down. That's not a viable strategy, and it's only going to guarantee economic instability and collapse in the future, right? If you have that redundancy, sure, everybody's not working all the time, but I ask you, what the fuck is so bad about that? The Soviet Union may have done this in a very inefficient way, where, you know, it's possible you had some people working full-time, some people not working at all, when in reality it'd be I think, more efficient to split it so that nobody's working full-time, everybody's more or less working part-time, so that you can sort of absorb strain where you need to. But at the core of it, that is like an essential strategy to fortify an economy of scale, to make it resilient to stressors and potentially unforeseen consequences and crises, right? Whereas bullshit jobs are not part of that redundancy, right? Bullshit jobs aren't redundant jobs that would otherwise be serving a function if they weren't redundant. They are jobs that, you know, don't have that function to serve. Does that make sense? Like middle managers and subcontractors of subcontractors and whatever are not the same as having two factory crews, which is technically two or three times as many employees as you really need to be running the factory. You know, they're different phenomenon. So that's one thing, right? But then the other thing is that there was I think there was one of these videos that I had seen that invoked John Maynard Keynes. You may know this guy's name. You may have heard of this guy. Great guy, John Maynard Keynes, father of the guy for whom Keynesian economics is named. It's kind of like, in a way, it's kind of like the liberal equivalent of Marxian economics. If you are an economist or a sociologist or anybody that engages with modern economy in any fashion, you have to be aware of and to an extent engage with Keynesian economics. It's a very influential set of ideas about the role of the state in economic stability and things like that. Keynes in 1930 predicted that by the end of the 20th century, technology would have advanced to such a degree that people would no longer have to work for 40 hours per week. And he was correct. We have computers now where we didn't in 1930. We have a number of labor-saving devices today that we didn't in 1930. Numerous home appliances and numerous much easier ways of categorizing documents, much more efficient ways of farming and tilling the land and stuff like that. There's a lot more automation and mechanization that theoretically makes life easier and less labor intensive. However, I ask you, are people no longer working 40 hours a week? No. People still work the 40-hour work week. That is still the norm and the standard, and it is oftentimes enforced by law, where in the United States, you cannot be classified as working full-time if you're working less than 40 hours a week. A number of companies will use this to their advantage, where they will schedule people for 38-hour per week working schedules, and that enables them to classify them as part-time employees and not pay them benefits. That's the whole point, because the goal of these technological advances and what they ended up doing was not to make life easier for everybody, but rather to enable companies to extract more profit from people and to have a larger reserve of unemployed labor to use as a threat to people who are employed so that they could much more easily lower their wages. You know? And that is why bullshit jobs exist. Bullshit jobs exist to prevent people from having more leisure time. Bullshit jobs exist to justify Lemon KZ, welcome to chat. I don't know what you're saying sounds based, but if it's the exploitation of the working class, then no, actually, it's not based. It's cringe. But the reason that bullshit jobs exist is to basically perpetuate the standing of the executives and CEOs, the true bullshit jobs of all bullshit jobs, on top, and to keep the shareholders happy while still keeping everybody else working 40 hours per week when there is absolutely no need to work 40 hours a week. The 40-hour work week was established as a legal standard in 1940. In the 1970s and 80s, there was an explosion of computerized technology, of digital technology and whatnot that made us an order of magnitude more productive the world round, such that if we wanted to keep up or even like grow the economy, we could do so. We could be easily way, way more productive, you know, than we were in the year 1940, at like 1970, 1980, whatever. We could have modern standards of living only working 10 hours per week. We are that much more productive per hour with the actual labor that we do. And as a matter of fact, having a much shorter work week would enable more people to work more meaningful jobs and have more leisure time. Everybody could be working a 10-hour work week at a job that provides real value to society, or at least a job that is redundant and thus creates that cushion should things go wrong, and still have plenty of leisure time to spare. But that would enable people to introspect more. It would enable people to cultivate a joy of living even more, and it would minimize the ability of companies to control their labor force ruthlessly and extract the maximum possible profit. That is why that doesn't happen. That is why that doesn't exist right now. That's why technological innovation and advancement has not saved us and will never save us. Because the same system is responsible for the order of things in the world. Does that make sense? I feel like I kind of got lost in the sauce there a little bit. The main thing I wanted to highlight was that a lot of people say, oh, bullshit jobs. Yeah, that just means we should fire all these people that are providing nothing of value to society. When the real takeaway there is that, oh, companies are that desperate to have control over their employees. They will create busy work for people to do just so they can have control over you for 40 odd hours per week. They will create labor that doesn't need to exist in any form, not even as a redundancy. That's based? No, actually, it's cringe because it results in the suffering and alienation of billions. Billions of people's lives are worse than they would otherwise be because of bullshit jobs. And that's a capitalism problem. Because it's all about that quarterly profit. Your life, Lemon KZ, I guarantee, if you are a real person, your life is worse because of the phenomenon that I'm describing right now. You know, the people around you are miserable because of what I'm describing right now. There is work that doesn't need to exist, that people are doing purely because their bosses want them to do it, basically just as a continued show of force. I don't know, my life is pretty great, then you're delusional. Also, no, your life isn't great, motherfucker. You're over here on Twitch.tv. Why am I taking your word for anything? Quit lying, you dumbass. If your life was so great, you wouldn't be here in a random Twitch TV chat. Do you know what my life is like? Like I said, if your life were as good as you said it is, you wouldn't be in a random Twitch chat. So, you know. Gonna put my smart money on, you know, no, your life is not great. Could be a factory owner. He could be, in which case he would probably be a miserable piece of shit, and thus I'm still validated because he's in my Twitch chat being a miserable piece of shit. Being on Twitch has nothing to do with anything. It does, actually. There's a very complex sociological phenomenon around the alienation of people from things in their real life that causes them to dive deeper into the corners of the internet and seek out confrontation like you're doing currently on Twitch.tv. But I don't expect you to understand any of that because I assume your IQ is lower than the temperature of the room that I'm currently sitting in. So, you're here streaming. What does that make you, brother? A gamer. That's what that makes me. And hey, you'll notice I didn't say my life is great. You said your life is great. You know? You're trying to catch me on an argument that I never made. And you said my life wasn't great? Yeah, I did, and it isn't. Everyone's life is great. Compromise? Ah, the liberal has entered the chat. Shortcut over here? Yeah, it is. But it is, though. I mean, you can lie if you want, but I don't know. I don't see the need to continue this. Anyway, that's the general interest stuff that I want to share. That, you know, the bullshit jobs are a thing that people frequently. There's like this divide between the libertarians and then the lefties, where both of them will see bullshit jobs as an incredibly inefficient flaw in economics. And but like they will assume that the reason for this flaw or the nature of the flaw is very different, where libertarians will take a very anti-systemic sort of I'm so smart and awesome kind of analysis, you know? Why would I lie to Bolshevik Y2K streaming Mario Kart Wii? Excellent question. People on the internet famously known for never lying or saying things that aren't true, you know? I can't fathom why somebody on the internet, let alone an anonymous chatter on a small Twitch stream, would lie to me. Crazy. It's so hard to believe my life is great. Is it because yours isn't? Nobody's life is great right now. Even the people who have, like, the material means don't have good lives. Have you heard about the lives of billionaires? They're fucking miserable. You know? Their life is dominated by, you know, the company that they run and work for and the profits that they seek over and over and over. Why is it so hard to believe my life is great? Well, it's because it isn't, and because you're lying, and that's literally the only thing you've been saying in my chat so far. So. Wait, shit. Didn't mean to do that. Standard bike. Yes. Yeah. I'm going to put my foot down and say this will be the last word, though. And for that, you're actually going in the pit for 10 minutes, because I need to focus on this. I saw that interesting video about the phenomenon of bullshit jobs that don't do anything, even don't, like, provide redundancy in the economy to, like, girder against economic crises. And it was interesting just how much the authors of those videos kind of failed the bar of analysis there, you know, where it was like, oh yeah, it's just like they kind of didn't even reach the level 1 analysis that you would expect, that like, wow, this is not about like social value so much as it is about like controlling employees. Some of them did reach that more or less. But it's critical to understand that when you're confronted with a job that is useless, patently useless, like not even a job that serves to provide redundancy, but something that's just useless. You're some random, like, nothing administrative worker coordinating middle manager with middle manager, so many layers abstracted from any like real production going on that there's no conceivable use for it. That job solely exists for your boss and for the shareholders who control you. You know, that's why that stuff exists. Because otherwise, people could have more leisure time and be working, you know, people could be working more meaningful jobs for a lower amount of time per week, and would thus have more meaningful and fulfilling and happy lives outside of work, or even with regards to work itself. And that would mean people would, you know, have time to introspect, and they would the boot would be off of people's neck enough for them to start recognizing the ways in which the boot was on their neck, and that makes it easier for them to identify other respects in which that is still the case. Does that make sense? I mostly agree with you. Okay. Yeah, as long as you can see what I'm saying. This isn't as, like, this isn't the most coherent my thoughts are going to be on that. It was just something that I saw yesterday that I thought was interesting. it's not even something that I'm especially well read on. Like if we were talking about housing, I could like explain very deeply in detail the nature of the issue with it there, because I've read a lot of studies about affordable housing and about the problems with a housing system that prioritizes like single family units and stuff like that, and the sort of interests that dictate that be the case. But with bullshit jobs and whatnot, I'm left to kind of defer back to the like sometimes defer back to first principles and sort of pull from other areas that I tangentially that like apply basically adjacently to creating the phenomenon of bullshit jobs, you know. It's actually probably the one of the things that prevents me from knowing so much about it. It is kind of a niche subject, you know? Like something like housing, as broad as housing, or as broad as the labor market in general, you know, that's something that I've read a decent bit about and would be able to, would be able to tell you about. But bullshit jobs are just one small subsection, a cross section of the labor market and work culture. You know, it's a cross section of two different areas that I don't know how much study there really is on it at the moment. So, anyways, interesting stuff. Let's change combo since I just did the standard bike. Finally, my favorite vehicle. Get to do this for one race if I gain VR here, or a couple if I don't. Oh yeah, okay, Eurobro's eating good right now. Did you see Romania is actually redoing their election? I saw this in the French newspaper. Um, yeah, W. That is a W for Eurobros and for Romania. Yeah, the first round of presidential elections happened in Romania, and the Constitutional Court reversed the election. They said, "All right, fucking do it again," because there's been a lot of like Russian interference and stuff. And I recognize that like procedurally you might not be able to make this hold up super consistently, but ultimately what happened was the election happened, and Russia clearly had an interest in making the far right guy win. The far right candidate, I think, came in first in the first round or something like that. He cleared the primary election, and the Romanian courts were like, hold on, we don't want a pro-Russian fascist running our country. And so they said, all right, fucking redo the election. And you know what? Even though that's procedurally inconsistent and might not stand up to the nerdiest lawyers' legal scrutiny, I think that's base. Germany and France halted Syrian asylums? Of course they did. Far right eating good too. I mean, yeah, the far right it has been eating good for the past like 10 years. You know, the far right has been ascendant since the 2010s, which is unfortunate. But I wanted to highlight this specifically because this presents a model of how to do institutional anti-fascism correctly. You know, if the institutions of democracy allow a fascist to win, then the institutions of democracy must change in order to prevent that from happening. You know, it doesn't matter, like, if you have a democracy where all the fascists have to do is follow the rules and win an election, then you don't have a democracy. You only have as much democracy as the far right will allow you to have, you know? And that's not a tenable system. And so I guess Romania decided, now hold up, you know, we're not gonna fucking take the far right, you know, winning here. And I think, like, if presented with a similar situation in other countries, this legitimately would be the correct thing. This would be the most based thing for institutions and for courts to do. Is like, oh shit, this like neo-Nazi candidate one? Nah, redo the election. You're not even allowed on the ballot this time. Fuck you. You know? Because like I said, otherwise you're basically allowing your democracy to be dictated by the far right. You know, like you're letting the far right say, okay, no more democracy as long as they win one parentheses one election. Maybe makes sense if Syria stabilizes. No, it really doesn't. It makes sense if you understand that Germany and France are extremely racist, right? But there's no reason to categorically deny and shut off asylum claims from a country if that country is now comparatively or seems to be more stable. Right? Like that's just because they don't like taking Syrian refugees. That's not because of any like you're what you're doing is just post hoc justifying it. You know? They just wanted an excuse. If people genuinely didn't need to seek asylum from Syria, you know what they would do? They would not seek asylum from Syria. This track is always a little bit difficult for me to keep up with the pack. It's not a difficult track to drive. Not really, anyways. But it can be kind of difficult to keep up on. Ah! He's gonna throw that at me, yeah. Rather get hit by that now than get starred. I think. What? You can trick off that, I swear you can. I don't know why I didn't get the trick there. Ow! Damn it. Getting Mario Karted. Luckily it's... Well, I was going to say luckily it's lap 2, but first place is way up there. I don't know if I'm going to be able to come back. I have to use this here. Player. Okay. I'm good. Well, 6th. If I gain VR for this, then... No, okay, minus 13. Joke's on you. I'm throwing so I get to play for the on the mock bike for longer. Hopefully the economy will improve in the coming years. Hopefully. I talked about earlier why it might not. I think you were even there for this, but like... Man, you know... It really is. It's gonna still take a lot for Syria to not get fucked by Israel and the United States and, like, Turkey. Oh, you mean where you live? Where I live, it's impossible to find a job? Buddy, you are not alone. It is also impossible to find a job in the United States. I heard this statistic recently, actually a couple of weeks ago, and I corroborated it. It is real. I looked it up. 70% of job listings are fake. Like, they are not real job openings. A relative of mine had to use connections to get a job as a janitor at the local high school. Yeah, that's actually, again, that's a capitalism thing. They want to have a mass, well, I guess I shouldn't jump to that right away. First, I want to highlight the whole, like, most job listings are fake. What a lot of companies will do is they'll just put out a job listing when they're not actually looking for a job to try to pre-select for candidates that they want. It's literally like, you've heard the phrase, beggars can't be choosers. That only applies if you're not rich, you know? And if you're a company that has the money and resources in order to do these things, then you can just, you know, basically say, oh, we're looking for somebody to fill this job, except we actually are only looking for who would be willing to, so that you can kind of pre-select for a number of things. One of them likely being who is likely or not likely to form a union or demand better pay or whatever. Basically, the reason that so many job listings are fake is because companies want to see who is the most submissive and breedable candidate for the job, so they won't have to worry about them like getting uppity or something. You know? My county is fourth from the bottom in terms of standards of living. That's kind of rough. You know, that'll contribute to it too. That's you know, probably one of the things that makes that county pretty far down the list is there's not a whole lot of economic opportunity. You know, and it can suck, but in situations like that, I think there's a you know, obviously if there's like, if things are desperate enough that you're not sure how you're going to make ends meet, I don't know if there's anything I can really offer that can make you feel better. But really, it's just understand that, number one, you're not alone, and number two, like, if you're in a really poor area and you can't find a job, there's not much that you can do about that. And what I mean that in the sense that it's not your fault, like, not even remotely. Probably just leave. Oh, to have that option. I mean, granted, I have a part-time job, so... But, you know. I blame the local government. They let a few restaurants and grocery stores hold a monopoly on businesses, pretty much. It's impossible to start small business. Small business, that's not necessarily the reason, but, like, yeah, monopolies are pretty bad. Trying to maintain third. There's a lot of places in the US and in various countries in Europe that are food deserts where there's not really a good option for getting groceries at the store. A lot of poor places don't have a lot of investment in them, so you only have a couple of jobs in the area, you know. And a lot of times the reason, like, obviously it takes money to start a business. In order to start a business, you have to have money, which means that, you know, yeah, poor areas are not going to be very good for that. Some dude I know wanted to sell milkshakes. The county didn't approve. He went to Vilnius and got approved immediately. Yeah. Again, that shit sucks. It's the same in the United States, funnily enough. You know, in a lot of rural counties, a lot of rural towns and counties, you know, pretty poor, not a lot of people living there, nobody can get a job. So there's like a very real rot that has come from, like, centralization and, like, big box stores and stuff like that. And, you know, profit interests hollowing out these small towns because there's not that much profit to be made there. Think about it. It's kind of a vicious cycle. Jobs don't really have an incentive. Like, businesses don't really have an incentive to set up in small counties and towns and stuff that aren't very wealthy because there's not a lot of money to be made there, you know? And if there's not a lot of money to be made there, they're not going to be able to get anything that generates, you know, wealth so that there would be money there. And that further entrenches the idea that, yeah, we shouldn't invest in this area and stuff like that. It's a vicious cycle. That's probably what happens when big companies influence politicians. I mean, big companies influence politicians by virtue of them being big and having a lot of money and stuff like that. It's not even them influencing politicians thing. This is just what big companies do. This is the part of the process that happens completely without the involvement of politicians. You know? In fact, in the United States, in the 80s and 90s, there was a very well-known phenomenon in the political world where politicians actually had a role in counteracting this phenomenon to a very limited degree. You know, like, oh, you know, this guy represents a rural district. You know, he represents, this congressperson represents a rural area of the country, and businesses don't frequently invest there. and he's trying to run his re-election campaign. So he goes to some businesses to try to help him, and the businesses basically say, hey, if you'll be good to our interests, then we will invest in your district. You know, that's the normal quid pro quo stuff. But then once they get in power, they say, oh yeah, here's an amendment I'm adding to this bill where, in addition to whatever else it does, this also puts some federal money, this puts some like government money towards my district where people live. And so that will be used for like bridges and like small business projects and like funding the local schools and whatever. I mean, frequently it was just the whole subsidizing businesses thing, and any value brought to society through that was kind of like small. But it was called pork barrel spending. And politicians used to engage in it quite a lot. For a long time, that was the only way that anything happened, because the institutions of liberal democracy in the United States were already stagnating. So they weren't making it a whole lot better, but it was not as bad as it would have been otherwise by, like, I don't know, 0.1%, So this is a rare example of politicians not being the primary cause of this problem. Or actually a very common example of them not being the primary cause, but them certainly not helping all that much. Like, this is a business thing. Businesses make the decision not to invest somewhere, and that just makes poverty entrench even further. That's how you get food deserts. There are areas in the United States where you have to drive for like 20 minutes just to get to a grocery store. You know how long a 20-minute drive is? In a rural area with no traffic? For some places, you have to get on the highway just to get to a grocery store in the United States. You have to drive like 15 miles. In 2 years, the price of pizza in the local pizza shop doubled. That really sucks. How are you going to get your nice, delicious local pizza that may or may not actually be all that good? Yeah. Yeah, and another part of this vicious cycle of how poverty entrenches itself in poor areas is that prices will rise to keep up with administrative costs and stuff like that. It's good. Okay, well, that's good, at least. Good pizza. Prices frequently rise. There's not usually, in a market economy especially, there's not really a reason for prices to decrease. What needs to happen, at least within like a Keynesian lens, well, that's another part of it. What needs to happen in a Keynesian lens is that wages need to keep up with price increases enough for people to be able to, well, live in a society where you have money and you have things that cost money, right? But because of things like monopoly, because of things like administrative costs, because of, a number of factors, one of them just being because they feel like it, prices are going to increase and wages aren't. In fact, that's part of like the playbook of business interests. You got to make sure that you increase your prices without increasing your wages so that you get more and more in profit, And when they have zero competition, that really helps them in that process, But even when you do have like some quote unquote competition, that doesn't stop that from happening, For example, in the United States, a little while ago, I think a couple of years ago, there was an outbreak of bird flu. A little bit different than the one we're having right now, where there are some people that are getting sick from bird flu, but they haven't been transmitting it to other people that I've seen, so that's good at least. But in the other bird flu outbreak, companies basically all said, hey, yeah, what if we increased our prices? What if we use this as a reason to increase our prices? Did things actually get any more expensive insofar as like producing them? Did it actually cost any more for companies to produce stuff? No, it didn't. They just said, oh, hey, look, this is something that we can do to like raise our prices. And then all of them did it. All of them. Even though like there wasn't necessarily a monopoly, there was an oligopoly. There was like a bunch of there was a few companies that like controlled the whole landscape, and this would have happened even if that oligopoly didn't exist. That's just the motive that companies have, is to increase the price whenever they get the chance, you know? Another example of this that involved direct coordination is a lot of landlords. This is how capitalism decays. It is. It's you know, you cut corners and you raise prices in order to pad the bottom line, and wages don't keep up because they can't keep up, because another thing that, you know, businesses do to pad the bottom line is suppress wages and suppress labor. So basically, I'm sorry that shit sucks and it's capitalism's fault, but at least you have good pizza, even though it's really expensive now. Dry runs. Let's go, baby. Anyways, I did see also that there were some things that people were commenting on in the Discord chat, and I felt like I would comment on some of that stuff because it's like politically relevant. Gained karma, nice. Where is one thing? Oh yeah, Cryoraptor mentioned that the Conservatives are probably going to win in the UK. And that's unfortunate, but yeah, they're probably right. You know, like, I made a couple of videos about this, where Labour really embarrassed itself, I think, in that election, because they gave up on all of their left-leaning promises, and then massively underperformed, and then, like, paraded around as though they had won a massive popular mandate, and people hated them instantly, because they just decided, yeah, what if we were, like, the heralds of austerity politics, just like the Tories, you know? Like, legitimately to the right of Tony Blair. And all the data that I've seen indicates that if the election were held today, if there was an election in the UK right now, then the Conservatives and the Reform Party would win the most share of the vote, and Labour would they would lose, you know? And that, honestly, a lot of that is Labour's own fault. You know, the Tories embarrassed themselves a couple years ago with Liz Truss and Rishi Sunak being blatantly, like, rich asshole trust fund kids that were just like, yeah, we're gonna, you know, make your heating bills 3 times as expensive and shit like that. Nobody liked them for that. And then Labour was like, oh, this is our moment to capitalize. What if we did everything that the Tories did? You know? Again, what no leftist counter thesis does to a motherfucker. The general public is dumb. I will grant that. 10 times out of 10, the general public is very dumb. Also, I gained VR. I don't have to still play this vehicle. Whoops, I forgot to switch. But ultimately, the reason that this is happening is primarily because Labour is shit. The general public being dumb is something that you have to kind of take as a given, and that has been pretty consistent throughout time, you know? There are moments where the general public is less dumb, but there's always going to be a fickleness to political consciousness in the masses, you know? What you can do is critique power in this situation, especially when that power is not even remotely connected to, you know, popular opinion issue by issue and stuff like that, if that makes sense. And of course, the general public did vote for Labor over the Conservatives by a very thin margin, but, you know, they did. And, you know, I at least credit the general public in the UK to understand that things are shit and that the status quo is incapable of fixing the status quo. Because the Labour, like, vote share only started dropping when they reneged on all of their, like, actually pro-Labor, anti-austerity political platform and stuff. You know, Labor could be not shit, and then you know, this would change. But you know, they're already, you know, they're bought and paid for and stuff by private business interests. And also, Keir Starmer thinks he's him, and he's just not. I got a star. Nice. Please don't shock. Okay. Am I gonna get first? How funny would that be? Ah! Certified lap 3 moment. Let's change vehicle. What else have I been doing? I've been pretty tired lately because I've been busy the past week, I think. Ever since I got back from Thanksgiving, things have been kind of busy. Oh yeah, I finally started looking for a more ergonomic, like a better bed frame and stuff. And I started stretching both before and after every time that I rode my bike. With short bike rides, you don't necessarily need to do this all that much because it's not as much of a workout. But definitely, like, since I rely on my bike a lot for stuff, I have to make sure that I'm remaining limber before and after the fact so I don't get, like, a cramp or pull a muscle or something like that. And obviously got to stay hydrated, too. And I've been doing that the past couple times I rode my bike, and I haven't gotten you know, a pulled muscle, which is really nice. Because it means I've been able to go to my part-time job and volunteer at the food bank, and like, not suffer every night between that, you know? Because when I pull a muscle, it really, really hurts when I'm trying to sleep. Which is not good. Needless to say. That was a good spin drift, I think. I'm gonna save this gold until I get around this corner. But yeah, that's been nice to have that, so that now I'm not, like, so that I can, like, lie down and walk comfortably. Because I would pull, like, the same muscle every time. I didn't get an item. Dude, I'm so much slower. Oh my god. Well, I mean, I guess that's kind of what I get for choosing the zip, right? But that's, you know, that's part of the vehicle thing. And, okay. Come on, get me around this turn. I was also thinking, I wanted to, obviously I want to, like, finish this all vehicle tour thing before I do anything else. But I was thinking about, like, both doing more general interest content and also, like, trying to have more purpose in, like, streaming with purpose, so I don't just kind of phone it in with Mario Kart every time. Don't intend to, like, stop talking politics, right? Because that's, like, I'm really interested in that. But I want to, like, I want there to be, like, a narrative or end goal for my streams, I think, more and more. I think that makes stuff more fun and interesting, both for myself and for people watching. You know? Like, there is it's been a while since I've played the Minecraft creative mode. Um, and I have built some more stuff in there. I had an idea to do a fun thing where basically I go in there and kind of, like, I have some ideas for what I want to build, but then I like say, okay, I'm gonna build a house, what should I build it out of? And stuff like that. I don't know. It's not fully fleshed out yet. I have to think about it a little bit more. Um, and then I was thinking about maybe also doing Super Smash Bros. Melee again. That would be one that wouldn't fit quite as well into the whole, like, streaming with purpose thing. I would have to think of, like, a challenge or end goal that I would set for that. You know? Maybe that could just be a personal challenge thing where I try to get good enough at playing the game while also just commentating casually that I'm able to just kind of feel natural in doing it. Maybe. Because I know there are some people that were, like, part of the Melee community that would watch my Melee streams, and I wanna try to broaden my base in that way. Probably go around here. I want to get bumped. Ah, dang. I thought that guy would be able to evade the first one. I didn't really mean for the second one to hit him. Or I didn't mean for them both to hit him. I meant for the second one to hit and not, like, the first one. Oh, well. You know, this bike looks cool. Shame it's really slow. Pow. That's fine. Oh, wow. I'm gonna let this guy pass so I can get a box and last. Oh, perfect. Second? Maybe... Alright, okay, you know, last lap luck strikes again. Nice. Maybe, you know, because I'm thinking about, like, how to introduce more narrative logic and more of a, like, a progression and stuff to my live streams. I'm wondering if I should play some games that have, like, a very defined start and end point. That's not usually the kind of games that I play. Not always. I do play some of those, but, you know, I don't know. I don't know. Again, I forgot to switch. Like, I know I played Portal 2 a couple times, because I fucking love that game. Portal 2 is incredible. I have to check, I guess, my Steam library. If I were really feeling spicy, I could play one of the Five Nights at Freddy's games. Because I'm not very good with horror, and I know chat loves to laugh at streamer guy getting like pants shittingly scared at stuff. God dang it, Steam open, so I can't see chat anymore. Get that out of here. Alright, cool. Yeah, we love that. Yeah, I know you do. You know, people have suggested that I play horror games before, and I've always been like, no, but I don't like horror games. But I am content pilled, so maybe I need to remember that, like, that's what I'm dealing with here. I need to do something that's good content, good experience for all, that we can all laugh about it. I'd have to turn down. Okay, one of the things that I would like not be compromising on is that I'm like, I would turn down the sound a bit. And under no circumstance, well, I shouldn't say under no circumstances. I don't know what the future holds, but I really like, probably just gonna start with like Five Nights at Freddy's 1. And I shudder to think of what would drive me to ever play Five Nights at Freddy's 4. That game is pants-shittingly scary. Like, holy shit. I have a hard time even watching people play that game. You know, Five Nights at Freddy's 1 and 2 and stuff I can kind of handle. You know? Five Nights at Freddy's 4, I cannot. And I think it's mostly because of the sound design. Chuck one of these. I'm gonna use this here, so I can go over here. I gained a bit of ground on him. I don't know if I'm actually gonna be able to sneak second place here. I mean, not that I need to, because I've already done the zip portion of it. Okay. Now I'm gonna switch to, I think, what was it, the Dolphin Dasher? Yeah. The two medium bikes I have left are the Dolphin Dasher and the Sneakster. Honestly, I do think that, like, the medium weights have the best selection of bikes. There's not, like... Probably my least favorite is the Sugar Scoot, but I really like the design of all the medium weight bikes, you know? Standard bike is like... Oh, okay, so Sneakster then Dolphin Dasher, not the other way around. Standard bike is like a cool looking BMX bike. The mock bike is the fucking mock bike, you know? Sugar Scoots also can be kind of funny and cute because it's like you're out delivering a pizza. And then I think it's called the Zip Zip. Yeah, is like a classic kind of 40s or 50s motorcycle. Then the Sneakster is like the Spear for people who don't want to subject themselves to cock and ball torture every race. And then the Dolphin Dasher is, you know, it's like the Magic Cruiser, but it goes a little bit faster than the Magic Cruiser. So again, less cock and ball torture. Whoa, whoa, whoa! That actually worked out kind of. Not super well, but like, that's something. Also, I'm going Flame Runner speeds. No, I didn't hop over the... Oh, dude. Alright, I'm going wide because I kind of have to. I'm going to use this here because there's another box coming up. Yep. Ow. Okay. I gotta concentrate. This is actually... Driving an inside drifting bike that doesn't drift very well is actually pretty difficult. I don't know if it's as difficult as driving even a cart that drifts really well, but it certainly feels like actually a little bit more frustrating and like less rewarding. You know? That doesn't always correlate to difficulty, but it can certainly feel that way. Gamer 9000? Oh shit. No, I hit a fucking fake item. Rip. The skin for Mario is sick. I think Mario actually looks really good with this skin, particularly on, like, the Sneakster. Ah, rip. It is what it is. Alright, Dry Ruins. It's time. Please give me Dry Ruins. Please. I didn't see what it picked. Oh. Well, this track is good too. It's not great for Sneakster, but it is fun. Well, there goes that guy. Poor bastard got vehicular manslaughtered right at the start of the race. And now I'm right back there with him. Sneakster life. Okay, I made that work, kind of. What's up? Sorry. The song for this track is so good. Oh my god. Whoops. Might hit a wall, so now I eat shit. I really like, there's a lot of video game soundtracks. Yeah, okay, Turnabout's Fair Play. That I really like. This is one of them. The Shroom Ridge. And honestly, Mario Kart DS had some pretty good, some bangers in there in general. It's a good spot for to use the golden on like Sneakster or a bike that can't drift as well. There's not that many turns. I think that, you know what, this shortcut is also probably fine because you're not taking as tight of a turn. You know? You're cutting it inside, but that means the turn is banked a little bit wider. In fact, the more I scrutinize this track, the more it seems like it's actually really well designed from the perspective of like many different vehicles that don't all drift the same way or don't have great drift to be able to drive on it, you know? The one like critique that I have is that as a result of like downsizing the cars, the hitboxes can be a little bit misleading. You notice that this truck, like sometimes you'll see the trucks and the cars appear to be a little bit smaller than the ones on Moonview Highway. That's not a hitbox thing. That's just the graphic of those cars that's slightly smaller. If you run into the hitbox that they would have if they were regular size, you would still get hit, right? Like, I've gotten crushed by trucks, but not even touching the graphic of where the truck starts. The hitbox is still the same size, they just appear smaller. So that's one thing you have to kind of be careful of. But overall, I feel like that's the only really glaring thing. Well, it's not even that glaring. That's the only flaw that I think is significant enough to point out about the track, aside from maybe the bumpiness of the shortcut mid-lap where you go on the off-road and you take that ramp there. You know, that can be a little bumpy depending on where you take it, but again, those are very, very small critiques. The overall, like, the design principle of the track of DS Shroom Ridge in this this port is very strong. And I would consider it to probably be one of the better tracks in the pack. Oh, he's on the outside drifting standard bike. Let's go. Ah, they don't know about that. You can trick off that ramp, but you're not supposed to. Because it leaves you much, much wider, and it ends up being slower than if you didn't. I think those green shells actually collided with each other, and that's the only reason I didn't get hit there. Alright, give me that. People are really going after me here. Woo! Barely survived that pow. And now I'm in first. This track can be kind of tricky. I do like that they've gone with a different aesthetic than most Bowser Castle tracks, you know? Like, I think this is the version of Bowser's Castle 3 from SNES that's in CTGP, more or less. But this one's green, whereas that other one I think was blue. At least the last time I saw it, it was blue. So it's interesting, you don't usually see green fire. You know? And I'm way out in front. I feel like I'm going to probably win this, unless there's a blue shell. Even then, I might have too big of a lead for that. Alright, nice. That track is nice when it gets picked. It's actually, I think I raced that one on the Mini Beast once or twice, and it works decently like well with the Mini Beast. And obviously I raced it with the Sneakster there, and it, you know, you can get away with that on Sneakster. So I think the difficulty of that track is pretty organic just by virtue of it being a Bowser's Castle track, which is kind of like it's supposed to be difficult, you know? Like, Bowser's Castle tracks are not known for being easy in their respective games. That one stands up. That's actually a bit of an older port. Which is crazy because I remember when that was the new version. Like, that layout was the new version. But I think it stood the test of time decently well. There's no, like, insane shroomless shortcuts that you have to do in order to win. This one you can actually get away with, like, on the Dolphin Dasher, you can get away with messing up the sand hop because the off-road stat is good enough for you to be able to just drift in the off-road and make up the speed pretty quick. Alright, let's see if I can't do... Okay, well, that was good enough. Oh no! I swear I was avoiding getting bumped. God dang it. You know what I can do? I can do this. Haha. And that's faster. Okay. Give me that. Still got it, baby. Alright. I'm gonna try to... Well, actually, I don't know if I want to save this. I'll just use it here. That works. I'm gonna, again, this might be a mistake, but I'm gonna try to save this for the shortcut. Okay, that kind of worked out. Now I need an item, so... Nice. Come on, get me around this turn. Yes! First place, baby. Last medium weight bike on my favorite track. Raced like a fucking champion and got first. I think I'm happy to call the stream there. You know? Lumi's live. It was Mango. That's Joey. Son obviously is live. Oh my goodness. You know what? I don't think I feel like rating anybody today. I'm really tired. I have some other stuff to do today. And I think I'm happy to just call it there and let that be the end of it. You know, I gotta work on that segment. I gotta get groceries too. I'll see you guys next time, whenever that is. I don't want to commit to anything because some days I really just don't feel like streaming, and some days I do. But yeah. Hopefully, I have more developed thoughts insofar as how I can discuss like general interest content that relates to politics, but isn't like just the news feed, you know? Because I feel like sometimes the news feed can get a little bit rote, a little bit like done with, if that makes sense. I don't know. Sometimes I feel like a broken record when I talk about the news, but I don't as much when I talk about general interest stuff. Anyways, see y'all later.